Oh, you damn right. Let's get a week started with House Divided. We'll see if we can get Jeff Ketchum a little time off this week. I'm Chad Hastings. That guy is Alex Dunlap of orangebloods.com. We're going to have some of the other Orange Bloods guys this week jumping in. Ketch is going to do Wednesday's show. When I told him what I had laid out and some of the guys jumping in, he's like, well, I think I could do Wednesday. So Wednesday with Ketch. We'll do the normal modcast tomorrow, Tuesday at noon. Cody Carpentier, I believe, jumps in on Friday. Jason Sukamel is going to join me on Thursday. But it's a Monday, got a new week started, and I've got a weird, big, crazy number to throw out at you Longhorn fans to start the week. First off, though, Alex Dunlap, how was your weekend, man? I appreciate you doing it.
Oh, good, man. I'd say busy, but I didn't do much. I was out at my friend's ranch, and so
Okay.
kind of doing a bunch of ranch stuff, sitting in a hunting blind, not really shooting much of anything, but filling up feeders and yeah, man, drinking a bunch of ranch waters and
There you go.
getting on the tractor and
No hijack poker.
no, no, man,
No hijack poker this weekend, which means there was money to be had. If Alex wasn't at the virtual table, you should have been. Hijackpoker.com. Get that app, put it wherever you want, put it on any device you want. You got to be in the state of Texas to play hijack poker. So even if you were out in a hunting blind, and as long as there was Wi-Fi out there, I guess at the hunting blind, you could do it. You could do hijack poker that way. Check out hijackpoker.com. Shout out to Texas Card House for always being our presenting sponsor on House Divided. Alex, have you ever played online poker while hunting?
No, I haven't.
Most
of the places I hunt, I don't get good enough for. And here's the thing: I tend to. No, man. When I'm out there doing that stuff, I kind of like to unplug.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if you said you had. Like, that would make no sense to me. I grew up in an era, you and I grew up in an era where if you're going hunting, no one would ever ask that question of, are you going to play a game? Are you going to, are you going to take Candy Crush with you or whatever? But I wondered as you're talking, I'm like, do people do that kind of crap? Like, do they go hunting and then to just pass the time, right? Do you get on your phone if you can? I would hope not.
Well, I mean, like it really depends on whether you're hunting out of a blind or whether you are, I tend to hunt a lot. Like since I mainly hunt axis deer, which are different than whitetail deer. It's an exotic kind of deer that's in parts of the hill country, and they don't go to feeders. I'm not against people hunting over feeders. I think it's fine. If you want to do it, it's fine. Just the species I target doesn't really hunt over feeders. So I'm generally in a pop-up blind that is like at a travel corridor somewhere. So I have to kind of keep my eyes in a bunch of different paths coming here and here. I think if you're sitting in a blind, I was waiting on a feeder to go off for corn. I could see getting on Twitter,
maybe.
But, yeah, but it's certainly, you can't do it if you're going out spot and stalk or, any of that stuff. You that you got to have all hands on deck, man. You got a loaded firearm. You're moving around from place to place.
Yeah.
You can't be, you got to have all your concentration on making sure you're being safe and making sure that you're trying to do the best you can to slaughter those animals.
That's it. My granddad would roll over in his grave if he found out people were out there with phones. So
I also think if I had access to, I think if I had my own ranch, I think it'd be different. If every day during deer season, I was able to go out and sit in a blind and just right after work, you know what I mean? I think then you probably scroll the old phone and stuff.
That'd be a little different. You're right.
It's just such a special treat, man. Like half of it's just getting out there and getting away. So
yeah, there you go. And we are speaking of getting out there. We know you guys were dealing with, here and there, the recorded shows that we had for you. For those of you that are in that live crowd, we appreciate you being here. Our man Money B jumped in and says, yes, as always, in the building. Anthony wanting to know if we are live. We are, Anthony. We are live today with House Divided. Thank you guys for jumping in. If you want to join the chat, feel free. And the Specs chat, you can also send us a super chat just like Oscar did. Oscar wants to throw Scheffler some love early on. $4.99. Thank you, Oscar. How can you not love Scotty Scheffler? I hope he just keeps on winning. It was a dominant win at the PGA for Scotty. Congrats to him. Of course, a former Longhorn badass golfer, now a pro badass golfer and the best golfer in the world as we record this show on a Monday. If y'all want to jump in the chat, go ahead. We are going to, frankly, throw out a big number that we can't back up today. But something happened, Alex, over the last couple days that I realized, I just hadn't heard that, like a number put to this yet. So I'm reading through 10 Thoughts from the Weekend. Shout out to Catch, of course, for 10 Thoughts from the Weekend, an incredible article at orangebloods.com. Y'all should always check it out. This week, shout out also to Travis Gailey, who stepped in for Catch to give Catch some time away. That's what we're trying to do this week or so. Catch trying to take a little downtime. So Travis jumped in, and he did a great 10 Thoughts from the Weekend that a lot of it had to do with Arch Manning. And if you dig Texas football, we know y'all do. Please go check it out. There's some really good number breakdowns on the number of passes Arch has thrown so far and an extrapolation of where it could go, comparisons to Ewers, Ellinger, Hudson Card, comparison to Matt Leinart back in the day, because obviously there's a Sark connection there. A lot of good, wonderful, nerdy football stuff there. But something jumped out at me, Alex, because he had some videos linked on Twitter with Arch Manning at like a passing academy and stuff. And I clicked on one of them and I saw a number, and it was a report of sorts. We'll tell you in a second, but it was a report on his NIL number. And I hadn't really seen that yet. I've heard people guess. I've heard people say, if he demanded, say, 10 million, they'd have to pay him. But I've never heard an actual number thrown out. So, and it's fitting that you're on the show today, because I feel like you could tell me what this means. Something called NFL Rookie Watch. It has a blue check for whatever that means nowadays. They put out this tweet, and they are claiming that Arch is reportedly getting $6.6 million in NIL this year, which makes him the most valuable player in college sports. And that number would be more than any NFL rookie is going to get this year outside the top 5, just to give everybody kind of a parameter there. So, Alex, I'll shut up. First, tell me how much weight should I put behind NFL Rookie Watch?
The same that you put behind somebody like Dove Kleiman or ML Football or any of these other dirt balls that are just idiot content stealing aggregators.
Okay.
It's NFL Rookie Watch. Don't even get me started. For one, it's not even spelled correctly on the Twitter handle. There's an X on there between the T and the H. Secondly, it's like I think I take personal offense against this guy because I have a company called Roster Watch, which focuses on NFL rookies. And so this guy comes along, he calls himself NFL Rookie Watch. It's like, he's stolen so much content from me and from other people. So very, very fraudulent as far as that stuff. And look, I don't know what he's making, but that's not a report from him. That's just that's the on three NIL valuation. Right. You can go type in on X.
Yeah, I was going to say somebody else put here that On3 has him at 6.6 million as well. So are you saying this NFL Rookie Watch, they just grabbed it from On3?
Yeah, that guy doesn't have sources. It's like he's an aggregator. He was, he's just looking at the NIL. He's looking at the On3 stuff. Arch Manning's just right at the very top of that thing. I think they have him at 6.6 million. I know Jeremiah Smith's on there for he's right. I think he's the next football player down. They got the guy that's going to the Mavs, the basketball player. I don't know him. Do you know who that is?
You're talking about Cooper Flagg?
Yeah. I think he was the second highest NIL valuation that they had on
Gotcha.
3.
Okay.
So that's what he's doing. He's pulling the number from that. But dude, it is an interesting number, and it brings up some interesting points. I think I'm actually writing about this right now, about how I think that the whole thing that happened with Jackson Cantwell last week with Miami, the 2 years, $5 million for the pay to play, right? They called it for NIL. it's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of shapes up, because with that, whether it's the House settlement, whether it is some sort of presidential commission, whether it's executive orders, whatever it is that's going to change, it feels like we've gotten to a point where this thing's jumped the shark, and people are being guaranteed money moving forward into years now where we don't know how the pay structures are going to be or what parameters that they're going to be working in. What, like,
right,
for the actual 2026 season, how can you guarantee a guy like Canwell $2.5 million for that year in NIL when you don't know whether or not his NIL is going to be approved by, say, Deloitte or the governing body or all the rest of it, right? They say that 70% of those NIL deals that are through collectives would have gotten flagged as being not okay by Deloitte, right? So moving forward, how can you promise him that unless you say, look, we're going to get you a kind of deal like Arch has? And so this is why Arch is different. Arch has deals with, I forgot the name of the clothing thing, but he told Kirk Bowles he needed to get him some drip. I forgot what company that was, right?
Right.
He like Vuori or something. I don't know what it is. It's like a men's athletic wear brand. He's got the Red Bull stuff.
Right.
He's got the Waymo by Uber.
Right.
Like,
he's got the collectible. What's that company called?
Panini cards. Like,
right.
So these are all things where you'd be like, it's easy to see Red Bull giving him $1.25 million for that. It's easy to see, Uber giving him $1.5 million to ride around in their cars or to, cut commercials or little social media snippets. Those things are easy to see. And that's because he's Arch Manning and he can make all this money off of his actual name, image, and likeness. That's what this is supposed to be. This isn't supposed to be, we're going to promise you you're an offensive lineman. Like, how can we promise you that there's going to be a market out there for $2.5 million of endorsements using your name, image, and likeness? They can't. Most of that's got to come from the collective.
Yeah, because that rumor that came, the report that came out on Cantwell was what, $5 million over 2? Is that what it was?
Yeah, $5 million over 2 years. And then there's the other thing, Chad. What happens in year 3?
Yeah, right. Renegotiation, Alex.
Are we just back to the drawing board again? We're gonna have to I don't
start fresh.
But that's beside the point. The point is, it's like, how can you guarantee money into future years? Whenever right now, I get it. We're in the Wild West. I do feel like 2026 is the final year of the Wild West. I just think that this is going to serve as an inflection point. Like, the fact that they gave him not only that they've done this thing over 2 years, and the second year in whatever contract, and who knows how enforceable these contracts are on either side anyway. That's the other kind of unspoken thing. But it's like, the fact that they could do that, this is a charade. This is like, none of it makes any sense. You're guaranteeing money to a future that's completely uncertain with what parameters are going to be put on what you can give per player, whether there's some kind of collective bargaining on this thing, whether there's any kind of, we don't know what. If Nick Saban comes in, him and the guy from Tech, and they have some kind of, it could be like, they could be like, seniors have to get paid more than the juniors or the sophomores, or you get paid a bonus for staying because we don't want anybody to transfer. We have no idea what's going to happen. How can you guarantee future money into future years? It's why when we look at Arch's NIL package and that $6.6 million, do I know if that's what it is? No, I don't. But I figure if you look at his endorsements, he's probably making at least 4. You look at what guys like John Mateer, the report, he's reportedly making $2 million, $2.5 million from coming from Washington State down to Oklahoma. And whenever Cody and I did sort of an analysis of this about, well, if we take, I forgot the number that we took, whether it was a 20 million, the 22 million, whatever it was, and you divided it up amongst a roster positionally, and you did it around the same way that the NFL does it on average, as far as their allocations of compensation per position, right? Like, starting quarterback, if we were going to do it with the proposed budget within the House settlement, what we think that's going to be, would basically fair market value for a quarterback would be about $2 million. So I think it goes to show a lot that, a guy like Arch, since he's actually making money off his real name, image, and likeness, he's getting like 3x that. And it just goes to show us, like, Texas fans are going to see it more and more and more, man. The guy truly is just larger than life with the interest that he brings.
And to your point about, Red Bull and some of those other things, we all have to realize moving forward, that will still be the NIL part of it, right? Whatever Texas would be paying Arch Manning coming up, that's not the Red Bull stuff. And it's not the card company or whatever. And it's weird, Alex. I feel like I'm waiting. We're all waiting for this update. Like, it was supposed to be April. I saw today there was like the board of directors of the NCAA conditionally, what is the phrase here? Conditionally approves House settlement related rule changes. That was on April 21st, but the House settlement itself hasn't happened. So until that happens, what the NCAA sort of approved in April doesn't even matter. And they're waiting around. And the number I keep seeing that kind of intrigues me, especially for a school like Texas, is people have talked about 20 million, 20 and a half, maybe 22 million. But
Yeah.
Alex, I keep seeing a percentage. I keep seeing 22% of revenue. And every time I read that, I go, wait a second. 22% of revenue, of total revenue generated, that's going to put Texas in a different spot than everybody. Except for there's only a couple other schools that generate as much as they do. In some years, it's been A&M, depending on how you look at the numbers. And I'm sure there's a couple others we throw in. But if it's about revenue generation, that's a whole nother chapter of what's coming. But
I mean, there's just like, 2024, 331.9 million in operating revenue during the 2024 fiscal year.
okay, let's just,
highest single highest single year revenue total for a Division I public school since the NCAA began its current reporting system in 2005. So
you said 332.
Yeah,
Okay.
in essence.
All right, and I'm gonna do. I'll list the 20. Okay.
It's like 64, 66, whatever.
Wow. Yeah, right. I mean, that would be crazy if it's that. So the other question that I was going to throw at you real quick, and you kind of hit it there, but in your discussions with sources, and I know you are in general much more of a X's and O's football guy than you are a gossipy kind of guy in terms of asking questions. I've known you long enough to know that. But in your conversations with a source, or maybe it's with Ketch or Zucamel or whoever it is, like, in those conversations, have numbers started to come up with Arch? Like, obviously, if On Three's got a report that it's 6.6, it's out there. But like, outside of that, with your sources, has that stuff even come up in terms of Arch and a number?
No, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, you hit the nail. I don't ask people stuff like that. I just, it's just a general in life. I like, since these guys are in the public eye, it's like we're allowed to talk about it, right? We can talk about it here on the stuff, but I don't care about anybody else's wallets. And I wouldn't want to talk about that to people who I talk with, because it's like, I mean, they're kind of with the program too. They're like, I don't want them to think I'm the kind of guy that wants to ask how much everybody's being paid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I've always kind of figured that he makes about $4 million, but it's, I think, 6.6. I'm sure that On Three has, I'll bet we'll learn pretty soon about how that, I'll certainly ask that question. How does that algorithm work? I'm sure that they put a lot into that. I'm very curious to know how that algorithm works. I'm sure that once all the merger stuff happens, we'll be privy to that information. And that's something that I'll certainly want to, ask the developers of it, how it works. But it seems like On Three was the first to market with that particular tool. And, but yeah, I don't know. I'd be talking on my rear end to say I know how much Arch Manning makes.
And the other number, somebody's throwing in the discussion. Thank you, Larry, for jumping in. It says it's average revenue. It's how that is how they calculate the 20.5. And Larry, in the NCAA story I read today, I did see that 20.5. It was mentioned. So that may end up being it. But I also keep reading about percentage of revenue and how much revenue is there, and whether that's average or whether that's the revenue per school. Like, that 20.5 million just doesn't feel like it's in pen to me.
Well, that's the reason why I think that's the reason. No, because like there are gonna be ways for it to escalate, and that's why they're saying it's like the number is this or whatever the calculation is of that. So if we see the average revenue go up, and it's just gonna happen with
because
It's gonna
Alex,
happen with inflation and everything else. Like it's gonna go up. And
it could be
so
like a salary cap, right? Where that could literally just be moving. Maybe it's not every year, but we'll have to see how
there's
that
some
goes.
date around 2030 or 2033 or something where I don't understand exactly what happens, but it's something where it's I don't want to say it stops, but there's something around that the judge had asked about whenever they had that. When was that one? The first big one, was that in March? She was like, "What is it?" There was something about 2030 or 2033. It's like something will stop as far as the possible escalations, and that was one of the things that they needed to go back and work on. But it's like you get some of this stuff. You got to kind of be a lawyer to understand how it all works. A preliminary injunction here for this and this,
and you're still waiting. I'm also reading in this NCAA story, June 15th. 2 dates to keep in mind. June 15th is stated as a date where if you're a school, I guess that you're one of the schools involved, you have to opt in for this year by June 15th and say, yes, we want to do it this season if all this comes through, if the House agreement happens. But the other thing, Alex, and here in a few minutes in this show, I wanted to get some of your thoughts on stuff I saw in the war room from you involving the Texas team. We will do that coming up. But also in the war room last week, there was a little note from Anwar that I hope didn't get by everybody, because it was a note about what teams are telling recruits. And it's the basic notion of it was like, offer them up $400,000 now before stuff gets crazy, because they're planning on being able to pay players effective July 1st. So apparently to them, July 1st is a massive day where that may be like the floodgates open, the green flag flies, whatever you want to say.
I'm not sure how good that is. I'm not sure it's floodgates. The floodgates have been open in Texas the whole time. Texas has been paying players to play, just like all the other Habs have been. Some of these other, they're gonna.
But in terms of having it all laid out, and we all will be able to know, okay, this is what's happening. It's all been approved and it's moving forward. It feels like some of these schools are assuming July 1st is that start date.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Chad, I kind of think it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder for places like Texas, places like Miami. Miami's not going to be able to do. They're not going to be able to outbid Georgia, like in Ohio State. It's going to make the market more efficient, because here's the thing: the collectives are not going to be able to say, "Come, we're going to give you $1.2 million. And we're going to need you to show up for the Texas One Fund Gala where Parker McCollum plays, and you're going to have to host somebody, and then you're going to have to show up at the Austin No Kill Shelter, ASPCA, and go over to Dell Children's and go help with the sick kids a couple times."
Yeah.
You're not going to be that. They're going to go to Deloitte and say like that. You can't give them 1.2. That's like $400,000 per engagement. Justice Terry, who's a defensive line, who's a high school defensive lineman last year that nobody knows outside of recruiting freaks and the uber informed viewers here on our show, right, or other shows like this, or members of our site. They're going to say like, I'm not sure. You could pay Matthew McConaughey to go do that, as far as the use of his name, image, and likeness for, going to the cat neutering clinic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They'd have to pay Matthew a lot to go to the cat neutering clinic. Like that'd be a hell of a payout right there. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. They have to figure out what, I hate to use this word, what's reasonable. And who knows how that'll get defined. So again, the number, I had not seen this number, and if On3's got a number, like you said, that's where ultimately it's kind of getting stolen from, if you will. I'll be interested to see moving forward. Does Sark get asked a question about it? Does Arch get asked questions about it? Because I just hadn't seen a number sort of out in the public space in terms of what he is making, but it's going to be interesting to see if that's a discussion going forward.
It's weird though, because it feels so. Is the word uncouth? What does that mean? Like inappropriate?
Yeah, inappropriate can be a good one. A little, I don't know, a little icky that you would know.
it feels like really bad manners to me to ask somebody how much money that they're making. But here's the thing. They're making it, and they're making a lot of it. And they've gotten to where it's like, are we talking student athletes, these professional athletes? I mean, in the NFL, we know what everybody's making. We know what everybody's making.
You know what they're making. You know how long they're making it. You know when they're in a contract year.
You know how much is guaranteed. You know how much of it is assigned to a roster bonus. You know whether whether they're for every day that they missed the mandatory OTAs that they're getting fined $50K. They get asked about it by the reporters. They're like, you're losing $50K a day doing this. It's like, well,
it's know what their fine money is, Alex. We know what the fine money is when you get a late hit or you get thrown out of too many basketball games or whatever. We know all that stuff.
Yeah. And so, but at some it might make me in a couple of years, it might make me be kind of like a fuddy-duddy, man. Like it's some kind of boomer that I'm like, I feel bad asking these college guys about money. They'd be like, why, dude? They're getting paid as much as NFL dudes.
Okay, wait a second. Did you just say this might make you a fuddy-duddy? Do you not consider yourself some level of fuddy-duddy already, Alex?
I guess so, man.
That's one of my favorite things about you, that you're kind of a fuddy-duddy, right? Like that's otherwise, who else says cockamamie except for fuddy-duddies?
Yeah, it's true, man. I guess who says fuddy-duddy except for fuddy-duddy?
Well, that's fair too. I haven't even said fuddy-duddy until you just did. I don't know that I've said that in the last 3 years, 5 years. Easy. By the way, Chris Bennett wants to throw a birthday shout out, and it is true. It's Archie's birthday today, 76 years old for Archie Manning today. So happy birthday to Archie. We've also got Longhorn fans. How about this one? VY yesterday turned 42 years old.
Oof, golly.
And VY shares a birthday with a couple of monsters. Travis Hunter, 22. They're 20 years apart. VY and Travis Hunter, same birthday. Also, for you music fans, George Strait turned 73 yesterday, the king of country music. If y'all want to throw a super chat at us, we certainly will put it right up at the top of the list. We thank you guys for jumping in. Over 400 of you in the Specs chat today. We will give Specs their love. Also, I'm going to try to make y'all hungry. And let's go back to the picture that started it all. Have you wondered why we started talking about Jeff Ketchum and enchiladas? It's this. This is why. I flashed this up. I talked about Hayes City Store. Those are their famous truck stop enchiladas. And then we found out Jeff Ketchum has never tried an enchilada in his life. This is what started the discussion. These are fantastic enchiladas. And man, if you love chicken fried steak, people, listen to what I'm saying. Trust Uncle Chad on this one. I have had a chicken fried steak or two, and I've had 2 or more easy out at Hayes City Store. They're phenomenal. That cream gravy will change your life. I'm not saying it will improve your vision, but it damn near will. It may be the best cream gravy I've ever had. Make sure you get the cream gravy if that is what you're into on your chicken fried steak. It's amazing. Get out to Driftwood the next time you can. Tell them you heard it right here on Orange Bloods Live. Travis, Tamara, and the crew, they're going to take care of you at Hayes City Store. All right, Alex Dunlap, is there anything of that type? Enchiladas, just something nice and basic. Is there anything like that that you've never tried that you'd like to admit to the people? Like, are we going to find out today, like you've never tried mashed potatoes or you've never had spaghetti or like, is there anything you could think of like that? Because I almost fell out of this chair when Ketch said he'd never even tried a bite of an enchilada.
And rightfully so.
Right? I mean, it was crazy.
So. How can you grow up in Texas and dodge that?
The man was in Waco, followed by Austin, followed by the Houston area.
And he lived across and he went to school at high school across the street from Dart Bowl.
Right. Yes. And
I could have sworn that like he's told me about the Dart Bowl, like the suburban mom enchiladas that they have there.
Yeah. And dude, Dart Bowl. I miss that place so much. Like I've probably had their enchiladas like 5 times, and he's never had any enchilada. I mean, that's
good, man. I noticed on that Hayes City Store thing, is that chicken fried steak? Did they go double potato sides there?
Let's see.
Or is that yes. Coleslaw?
Oh, hang on. Let's see. That very well could. That looks like the mashed potatoes. I think they went fries, mashed potatoes.
You know what? I don't know if I've ever done that.
No,
Gone double potato. No, I think the one, I've eaten if it's like I'm sure there's stuff I've eaten that people would be like, well, yeah, I haven't eaten that either. It's not, I think maybe the most common thing I've never gone ahead and tried to get the anchovies on a pizza.
Okay. But see, I'm with you there, but I have tried an anchovy. But that's a little weird.
If you've had Caesar salad that's homemade, I think it isn't that kind of made out of anchovy paste.
That's true. There's some of that. You're right. There's some of that in there.
So I've had that a million times. I've never had,
like if somebody tells me they've never had caviar or escargot or oysters or even something like clams, I don't think I've ever actually had clams. I don't think. Like stuff like that feels a little unique, but enchiladas,
it's just how do you dodge that? It's like comes on every Mexican plate of food.
And then he told me that his mother used to order them all the time, and I'm like, wait, hold on one second. You're telling me all those years your mother didn't offer you a bite? You didn't think of a bite? Like y'all just,
or she didn't just get enough for the whole family? Like, I mean,
no leftovers, not one. It's just, it was remarkable. Anyway, that's what started it all. So shout out to Hays City Store, and y'all get out there for enchiladas or whatever else you like. Looks like we do have a couple of super chats coming in. Let me make sure I get them all marked here. Let's go to highest money amount first. I see Jay with a $5 super chat. Alex, when Team Talent Composite comes out later this summer, who do you think will be 1 through 5? Will Oregon be the new number 1?
Do you think?
So this is he's talking about the total team talent for each year.
I mean, well, it could be, how do they do it exactly? Like, what about guys who were I don't know exactly how the composites worked out, so I'm probably not going to answer this. Does this go only on recruiting pedigree, or does it bring in actual on-campus production as well?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I was assuming, since when he said team talent composite, you would know exactly what he was saying there. I don't know exactly what he's referring to.
That's more, gosh, that's a little bit more of a catch question. I don't know exactly how that thing works. So yeah, I wish I could answer better. I would say, I would guess it would be, wouldn't Penn State be up there?
I would think that's possible. Like the teams that jumped in my head were,
they didn't really lose. Like, they have everyone come back.
Oregon. They lost
except for Abdul Carter.
I was going to say they lost Carter,
and then they've added like awesome receivers, and Drew Aller, if it goes by his recruiting profile, he was like one of the top guys.
I mean, I would say Penn State might be around 4 or 5, but then the top 3 it's probably like Oregon, Ohio State, Texas in some order, and Georgia's got to be up there too, right?
Or it would be Oregon. Well, if it's only by recruiting pedigree, and so you don't got to worry about the fact that it would be Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Texas, Georgia.
Yeah, those are the ones that jumped in my head, Jay. But what you're talking about, that composite, I don't know exactly all the ingredients that go into it, but it is a good question. All right, let's get Chris Bennett to smile today, because nobody loves Aggie tears more than he does. $2 super chat. Hi, Aggies. Keep up the great work. Chris Bennett, the show is technically called House Divided, so I will mention what I think you're referencing. I didn't find out about it till this morning. I was doing some stuff this weekend. We're getting ready for my kids graduating high school this week. I'm cleaning house and stuff. And Alex, I woke up today and found out that the Aggie softball team made the kind of history nobody wants to make. They are the first number 1 overall seed in the history of the softball tournament to get knocked out in the regional.
I didn't. I wasn't aware of that. I did watch some I did watch the game 2 of the Texas baseball series this weekend. But I didn't watch any softball.
Yeah. So I think that might be what Chris Bennett is referencing. It was a rough weekend for the Aggie softball team. Liberty took them out in 2 games. So Chris Bennett, thank you for that super chat. And while we're talking a little bit of softball / baseball, congrats to that Texas baseball team. Regular season SEC champs. You pretty much knew it was coming, but it's official now. They're the number 1 seed heading into the SEC tournament. They get the double bye into the quarterfinal round on Thursday. So shout out to Coach Schlossnagle and that.
You see the end of that game too. Whenever at the very end that they brought in and I think he struck out, but whenever they put in Jonah Williams.
No. I didn't see it. What happened?
They sent him in. They were down. They had just given up. They had just given up. They were tied, but then I don't know anything about baseball. So if I'm saying this wrong, whatever. But they had two runners on base that were that represented the two tying runs, and then of course Jonah Williams, and they were down to 2 outs. I think it was top of the 9th, and it was a right-handed pitcher, and so they bring in they brought in Jonah Williams, and I was just like, dude, what does it say about this kid's? I mean, I can't wait to see what he does on the football team.
Oh,
man. What does it say about his makeup that like Schlossnagel's like he's not putting him in there just because he thinks it's cool or cute.
No, I mean,
he's got something to do his mental makeup that's like pretty solid, man.
He's trusted him in big spots.
Yeah.
No doubt. By the way, this is how far Chris Bennett will go. He's making fun of a team that played for the national championship. It is true. A&M women's tennis did lose the national championship match yesterday, and Chris Bennett is piling on them for that. No one enjoys Aggie tears more than Chris Bennett. All right, let's see. We've got a couple of things from the war room I wanted Alex to comment on. Before we do that, let me tell you about another one of our great partners, and that is Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Y'all have heard me talk about them. They've got me sleeping good and feeling good and resting well, and they got rid of my allergies for good. This is that time of year. I mean, it's really all year. We know that. But when you get into the spring and summertime and all the pollen's out there and you got all the flowers blooming and all the stuff that's there, it can really mess with you. Get rid of your allergies for good. Deal with that snoring that you've had going on for a while. If you've got sleep apnea, if somebody has said those words to you, sleep apnea, depending on what the level is, it means you stop breathing multiple times during the night. A few times, it's allowable. Anything more than that, you don't want to let that continue to get worse. I had moderate obstructed sleep apnea. My wife's was more severe than that, but we both got it taken care of, and we both sleep really well. And we're healthier for it. You should do the same thing. Sinus and Snoring Specialist, 601-0303 or sinussnoringent.com. Feel clear, rested, and healthy with Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Shout out to them and all the cool things they can do for you.
One of the differences of being like a 40-something-year-old man and going out to the ranch with your buddies from high school that are your same age is like you get to go out there and like you get to see one dude and it's like all of a sudden he's got to have the sleep apnea machine. You know what I mean? You got to kind of talk about this stuff. Oh, that's right. Dude, after I tell you about this, let me tell you about how your phone's listening to you, how I discovered this this weekend. But he had the sleep apnea machine, and I don't know if he went to Sinus and Snoring Specialists. I'm sure that he would have loved it if he did. But he got the machine and he puts it on his face. And dude, he had to go in and take a sleeping test. I'm sure you went and did this, right?
Yeah.
You said they quit breathing. Guess how many times it happened to him in one night?
30 or 40?
127.
Wow.
And he didn't even know. Like his wife just thought he snored.
My wife was in the 60s, and hers is considered like severe obstructed sleep apnea. I don't know what they'd call 127. That's
and this crazy. Guy's not even like, I mean, he's probably could lose a couple pounds, but it's not like he's a super fat dude. Like I always figured to have sleep apnea that bad, you got to be kind of, do you know what I mean? It's like you get typecast in your head. It's like, oh, they can't do it because they're just morbidly obese or like he's just kind of pretty normal guy. It can happen to anybody.
Right. That's the thing Sinus and Snoring will get into. It's all about literally the makeup of your sinuses, the passages and everything. It's not something you can just look at somebody and tell. You really got to check out the nasal passages and everything. I'm glad he got it dealt with. 127.
Yeah.
That's the highest thing. When I heard my wife's was over 60, it just stopped me. But I've never heard of one over 100. That's crazy.
All right, and so here's the other thing, and I've never believed anybody that I've always thought it's nonsense. People are like, your microphone's listening to you, right? I'm just like, this is stupid. Like, it's not listening to you. Like,
right.
But people always say they have their little anecdotal evidence. Look, here's I kind of believe that it is now, because listen to this. We were out there, and we were just having a discussion about where's the nearest hospital. Like, this is the kind of stuff you talk about when you want to make sure everybody's in line with where the nearest hospital is, what the plan is if somebody were to get hurt,
contingency stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Cody's like, my buddy who owns the ranch was like, thankfully, out at his lake house, he's like, with their electrical service out there or something like that, you can pay an extra $2 a month to get medvac insurance, like for helicopters, and it follows you all over Texas, right? So it helps you out with if you ever have to get care flighted out somewhere, instead of having to be in some, like, you have to pay a whole ton even if insurance covers it, right? It's like $18K out of your pocket. So he was talking about it. I'm like, dude, how do I get signed up for that kind of insurance? Like, I'd like to have that. Dude, Chad, I swear to God, man, on the ride home, turn on my my Spotify, like podcasts and stuff. The first 2 commercials were for like air vac services, Insurance Inc. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know that this insurance existed before today or before this weekend. Like, and now I'm getting 2 commercials, and I know this wasn't something where I just heard these commercials before and they just passed over and I just didn't listen to them, because honestly, it was something that was intriguing to me. Whenever I heard it from my friend, if I would have heard it on a commercial, I would have looked into it. Right. I literally never heard of this service. And so I never believed it. I thought you were just a cockamamie, like weird old cat lady, if you were saying that Facebook listens to you and stuff. But I kind of think your phone's listening to you.
Now you believe it. There it is. Yeah. I think I know a lot of people that have had those situations where you're having a discussion with my wife and me. We were having a discussion in the car on the way home, and then got home and one of us went to our phone and the exact thing we were discussing like pops up in a search, and it's like, whoa, what?
It was just too specific, man.
Yeah.
Too on the nose.
That's it. That is what it is. All right. It is House Divided on a Monday. Alex Dunlap sitting in for Jeff Ketchum. Ketch will be in on Wednesday, but he's trying to take some time off, and we are hoping that he's able to do that. Thank y'all for jumping in. Damn near 500 of you in that Specs chat. Let's give Specs their love. This is Lisa all over town having a good time, and we will be right back. I want to ask Alex a question about some of his War Room notes last week, but first, here's Specs.
Texans know for selection and lower prices, it all starts at Specs. Shop Specs! No matter what's on the menu, we've got you covered. With all your favorites on tap, you'll bring home the win. Shop Specs! Special occasion? Flirt responsibly. Boots on, drinks up. The fun starts here.
Shop Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Specs. All right, Alex, before we wrap up, I just wanted to get a thought or two from you on the interior line stuff, your notes from the War Room. One jumped out at me kind of each way. The thought on the offensive line, and then a couple of defensive linemen I want to ask you about. But offensive line first. And you can obviously expand on the kind of the note and the intel you're getting, but continues to feel like there's confidence behind the scenes and amongst the staff and the people following this team. Seems like they really dig this offensive line. I know you follow that that part of a team so closely. What do you make of it right now? And has your confidence level risen because of what you're hearing?
So I mean, how can it not? It's like these guys are bringing in 4, they're bringing in 4 new starters. They're losing. It'd be interesting to count out how many starts they've lost. Like how many games started that they've lost between those guys? Kelvin Banks comes in and starts every game he's healthy at Texas. Jake, all these guys, man. Hayden Connor, he's played all 5 positions. He's played all 5 positions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so. It's just a whole lot to lose, and you bring it's just, and you think about it, Chad. All right, so Arch Manning's first season. What is priority one? Like, before we start with anything else, what is priority one for this football team? It's like if we don't do this,
clean.
what?
Keep 16 clean.
Yeah, right. So
period.
So I guess I'm saying that to say if there was even an inkling of every little worry about that offensive line should be something that's like multiplied and elevated and stuff, right? Like, even if there's a small worry, it's like, boy, but this can turn into a big problem if things don't go exactly right. It's like, this is the group that's going to make sure that Arch Manning is able to do what everybody hopes that Arch Manning is able to do this season in the SEC against good players. And what you hear from them is like, how's the offensive line look? They're like, oh, they're actually good.
Right. And the other little thing to layer on top of it, nobody in the portal, correct? Am I forgetting someone? Winter portal, spring portal, they did not get an offensive lineman, correct?
No, and they just say, like, you hear it from the defense, you hear it from sources that are kind of close to the defensive side of the ball. They're like, dude, these guys give us a good look all the time. Like, they've been giving us good looks all spring. If you're going to worry about something, worry about the interior defensive line. That's what the guys on the defense would say, is they were right. And so on the defensive side, it feels like what they're most, and back to, but just one more thing on offense. I think that one thing that we can take away from it is that people always ask me, it's like, how does Nato Yamusalo look? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't go to practice. But, you figure that's like the one guy that I haven't heard really much about. And weirdly, the fact that I haven't heard much about that guy, and that the confidence seems high in the offensive line in general, and the fact that the confidence seems high, most specifically in the starters in general, because I did ask, I said, well, what about over there at right tackle, where there's been a little bit of a competition between Brandon Baker and Andre Kojo? Was with all we've heard about Nick Brooks, who backs up Trevor Gooseby at left tackle, is there any way that he could get in the mix over there? And this guy said, like, dude, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. He's not pushing the start.
Pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah.
And so what that tells me is, like, they feel good about the guys who are the starters, or at least at right tackle. The one, 4 of the starters feel set, right? Right tackle, I think it's Brandon Baker, but it feels like there's going to be a continuing little bit of a competition there with Andre Kojo coming into fall camp. But when I asked about Brooks, they're like, no, he's going to be good one day. But dude, come on, like, we're not talking about the same level of dude. It's like, I'm like, well, wait, I like all these guys. To me, when I just think about them in theory, they're all unproven.
Right. Yeah. So this tells you that they feel really good about Baker. Let's assuming that's right tackle. And then more importantly, maybe, Alex, they feel really good about center and guard, because I think that's the part Texas fans have been sitting around kind of a little nervous about. And if there was something in the portal, it felt like it might be interior, but they didn't do it. So that means they dig center and guard too, right?
Well, they have to like DJ Campbell at right guard. I feel like this has been sort of like I was saying, sort of like a silent kind of commendation. Or is that a word? Silent. What is it? Like, like saying, like, the stamp of approval on this guy for Nato Yamusalo. No, we haven't heard he's go, but it's and then with Cole Hudson, dude, he's had his issues. He gives up disruption once every like 15 snaps last year, but you got to remember he started as a freshman over DJ Campbell. He played well enough last year to where he played 35% of snaps at right guard, and DJ Campbell played 65. And, that wasn't because DJ Campbell was hurt. It's because they felt like Cole Hudson brought him some juice. And he didn't play as well as DJ did last year, but obviously Flood likes him. He's obviously smart. No one's going to be as smart as Jake, I don't think. It's going to be a while before they get another football cyborg. But
right.
Yeah, I think that they like him. I think that the worries are not necessarily, it's with the defensive line depth, and there's still just a look, Cole Brevard is at the nose is somebody who I was told like that's our best.
Yeah.
Interior.
The other note that stood out to me, Alex, from you on the defensive side, it was, and I mentioned this on a show late last week on Friday's show, was that Cole Brevard and, correct me if I'm wrong, and Murad Watson would be the two starters at on the inside right now,
which is worrisome because that's a sight unseen projection on Murad Watson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been here this spring. So that you can think about that as a small indictment on, some of the rest of these guys. But I think that they think Travis Shaw, Alex January, these two guys can be, the kind of guys that we would expect to be the kind of your 35 to 40% snap share guys. That's all these dudes play. You have Byron Murphy and you have Tavondre Sweat, and they're the best in the whole nation, and like they're so awesome. And they play 56% of snaps. It's like these guys they rotate in and out.
They're rotating all the time.
So I think that, I think probably Travis Shaw, Alex January, but they're really pinning a whole lot, it's just like the primary depth and the reserves. I think that Hero Canu is probably a little bit behind those guys. And I've heard that guys like Josiah Sharma, who knows if Justice Terry is going to be lining up at a strong side defensive end to start, or whether he'll play a 3 technique. I know for a fact that he played both during spring ball. And I think that'll just depend on how his body develops. If he puts on 20 pounds between now and fall camp and gets up to 290, 285, 290, I don't think he could put on 15 pounds, get up to 285. We've seen, heck, man, how much did Walter Nolan weigh last year? 290 something? Like it's fine. You can be good picked in the top 15 of the NFL draft in the SEC playing at that weight. So, obviously he would mix in, but they've really pinned a lot of hope. And I think that they gave a lot of money to Murad Watson because I was just told, man, that guy could play and we think he's a player.
Yeah, that is an interesting note. Real quick, back to the offensive side for ATX Bates. $4.99 super chat. Are we truly seeing Kyle Flood's soup to nuts development emerging, meaning from recruitment, strength program, coaching to playing? It's an interesting question.
Soup to nuts feels like something that you would hear in from a tech company startup co-founder whenever he's talking about a soup to nuts solution here for streamlining your. What does soup to nuts even mean?
I was always a little confused by soup to nuts because I interpreted it as like a meal metaphor. The soup made sense. The nuts part didn't make sense to me. Soup to nuts. Like what stereotypical meal is in? Are we talking about some kind of
you're saying maybe in the old days they were,
is that what it is? I always interpreted it like it was a meal thing. So you start with a soup and then, but nuts.
And then your entree and then your little plate of nuts to end the night.
Is that what it is? Or is it a reference to like nuts and bolts and they're combining things? Soup to nuts? I have no idea. I don't know. I would have to look that one up.
What I think soup to nuts means is like stem to stern, tail to snout, right? Yeah. So he's saying it's the soup to nuts because it's like the recruitment plus the development.
Are we starting to see that? And maybe to expand ATX Bates' point here, is that why they would say, is that why they didn't need anything in the transfer portal? And is that why, your sourcing is saying, oh yeah, no, they're good. They're good. And they're giving the defensive line a good look in reps as well. Like all that's important.
Yeah. Obviously I think that Coach Flood, he's already shown this, the development stuff. I think that the best kind of the best case for that would have been before I would have said Christian Jones, but that wasn't something that he recruited and everything. So I think right now Cam Williams is one of those guys. You're getting to see it now with all the other 2022 guys that still remain. You're getting to see it with the 2023. You're getting to see it with 2023. I mean, Trevor Gooseby, right? And then I think next, still some of those 2020, not all of them are going to develop, but Gooseby and Kojo look like they're coming along pretty well. Connor Stroh was always going to be a super long kind of bake. Peyton Kirkland's gone. forget who the other one was of the large humans class. All these guys are large humans now.
The large humans class. Yes.
When the phrase was
yeah, right.
coined.
They first started it. Thanks, ATX Bates, as always, for your super chats. All right, Alex, before we duck out of here, a couple quick buy or sells for you. Buy or sell on August 30th. It will take 28 points or more to win in Columbus. Give me a feel of what kind of game you thinking, or would you tell me 24 wins the game?
It's gonna be a good defense, man. I think it'll take. I think here's the thing: this game's not gonna have a 50. Okay, so what? If we figured out what the line is on this game, have they put it out yet?
I have not.
I feel like I ask on shows all the time, and after the show, I never get off and go look.
I have not looked. And again, I've always guessed it's going to be Ohio State's slight favorite because they're at home.
-2.5.
Yep.
So if that's it, then that would be. I mean, do we really think this game's going to have a 56-point over/under?
To me, I think it's lower than that. I think this early in the season, defense always ahead of offense, all that kind of stuff. To me, if I'm either side, the reason I phrased it with the 28, boy, I think I'd sign up for 28 right now. I think I'd take 20. I think 28 definitely wins that ball game.
I don't.
But the question is
I think they can win with like 24 or 27 or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think that might be.
So that's a sell.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Back real quick to the golf since a Longhorn did it again. Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA. You watch golf majors, Alex Dunlap.
Sell, man. I think they should give that.
Sell?
I think they should turn that land into nature preserves and quit using all that horrible Roundup.
Fair enough. By the way, big time history for Scheffler. Third major, and there's two different categories where he hits a stat that only Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods have ever gotten to. So it's, what is it? 3 majors, two Masters and a PGA before you're 30. Only Jack and Tiger have done that. And 15 wins on tour and 3 majors by the time you're 30. Only Jack and Tiger have done that. Congrats to Scotty Scheffler. He was awesome once again. All right, Alex, buy or sell. The NBA Final Four is Oklahoma City versus Minnesota and the Knicks versus Indiana, and you don't care. Buy or sell.
Here's why I care. I care because my brother-in-law is a giant Oklahoma City Thunder fan.
Okay.
And one of my buddies at church, who's a family that we know, whose kids are my daughter's age, and he serves with me at church. He's a giant Indiana Pacers fan. So I'll be rooting for OKC and for the Pacers. But when I say rooting for them, that just means whenever I see them, I'll ask them what happened, because there's no way I would turn on an NBA basketball game.
Young blood time in the NBA, 4 teams. All the studs on these teams don't have a ring. Everybody's looking for their first ring. And the first time in NBA history, we're going to have 7 different champions over a 7-year stretch. That has never happened before, but it's guaranteed to happen now this year.
Were these the teams expected to win?
The Oklahoma City is the 1 seed.
Okay.
Oklahoma City's the 1 seed. Everybody else would be not as expected. Minnesota, I think, was a 3 or 4.
The Warriors and the Lakers and stuff not good anymore, and the Nuggets and stuff.
The Warriors, Lakers, Nuggets all were a little bit down. Also, there were injuries that were a part of it. Steph's injury was huge. Gordon got hurt for Denver. So you know how it is in any sport, but basketball really get smacked around.
Aaron Gordon plays for Denver now.
Aaron Gordon played for Denver, and he got hurt late in that series.
I thought that got before Orlando.
That all gets started tomorrow. We're doing this show on a Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday is when those 2 series get started. And finally, Alex, a music question for you. George Strait turned 73 yesterday. You've seen King George multiple times live.
So I've not seen him multiple times live. I'm not sure I've seen him once live. I would love to. Unless it was like, man, Chad, there've been so many times that that I've seen, like that I've played at like big festivals and concerts where like big names like this played, where I was just playing on some little dinky, this little
But you didn't get a chance to go over there and see him.
Stage. Yeah. Like it wasn't anything where I've just sat and I'm like, oh, here comes George to come play. Wondering if I can't remember ever seeing George Strait live. I've seen Willie Nelson multiple times.
I saw George only once. I wish I could say it was multiple. Just the one time. I wish I'd seen the George Reba tour. That King and Queen tour they did. That would have been cool. I saw George at the Irwin Center way back in the day and way up high in the rafters. But he was there. I did see him one time. Happy birthday to George Strait. And a big thanks to Alex Dunlap for jumping in. Football with Friends, Alex and Cody, 6 o'clock this evening on Orange Bloods Live, Old Fashioned tomorrow with Anwar at 9. And we'll get the modcast together tomorrow at noon. Get the guys' thoughts on all kinds of stuff. Who knows? Maybe the House, the House agreement will come through tomorrow. We'll have a lot of that to talk about. But the Longhorns got a new commitment over the weekend in the 26 class. We'll get Jason Sukumel to tell you a little bit about that on the modcast tomorrow. Also, be sure to catch on Wednesdays, premiering at 10 a.m., all recruiting all the time on the Recruiting Hour, brought to you by Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Jason will give you his thoughts, not only on Yaheem Riley, but the very latest in recruiting. There's an interesting story brewing about another big name added to the official visit list for Texas in June. That just keeps piling up. So we'll get you the latest on all that this week. Thank y'all for jumping in. Thanks again to Alex for jumping in today. Y'all have yourself a good Monday, whether you are checking out Orange Bloods Live or you're in a deer blind with no Wi-Fi or your phone is listening to you about what you should be purchasing. Y'all take care.